going on to the folks that just joined the room? Damn, is that an echo? We don't want that. We got to talk about Coach Prime, man. I don't think it's something that we should really be going crazy over, but I mean, I could be wrong. Siri, come on. Going live on YouTube and Facebook at the same time, so if there are any audio discrepancies, by all means, please let me know. Share the live, share the stream, share the stream. Let me share the stream a little bit, y'all. All right, that's enough. That's enough. If there's an echo, don't mind that. All right. We need to talk about Coach Prime. It seems that's what's on everybody's mind right now, and I think it goes to a bigger conversation about our community and how things work and how they maybe don't work. But I don't want to go and focus completely and solely on what it is that I think about it. I want to also hear, what everybody else feels about it. So if you all want to get in on the conversation, by all means, just go to yofresh.tv. Again, yofresh.tv. If you want to get in on the conversation, you can go ahead and click the link, put your name in, and we'll add you into the conversation. But Coach Prime, yeah. Yo, going to Colorado, and it's an ascension of sorts. Definitely, personally, sorry, Siri's talking to me. Definitely a personal ascension. But what does that mean as far as the ascension for the community and HBCUs, and does that even matter? In the grand scheme, I would say yes, it does matter. But for somebody else's own legacy, maybe not so much. My question, well, I have a few questions, but one of my questions that comes from a theory from somebody that I follow on social media. They kind of state that the reason that our community continues to be in this place of limbo is because of the consistent practice of us making good where we are and then leaving. And what I would say is it our responsibility to, one, elevate, but then to elevate when we do so to not leave a huge void where we were. We have to understand that Prime is an exception. We really don't have many personalities like him that are Hall of Fame players, right? Prime is one of one. So when he leaves, there's going to be a serious void. Now, knowing that there's going to be a serious void, is it his unwritten responsibility to make sure that the energy and the popularity of the SWAC and just HBCUs in general, as far as athletics are concerned, continues to go as effectively? Some would say absolutely not. He's only got a personal responsibility to himself and his family. And some would say if we're ever going to get anywhere, we're going to have to make unruly sacrifices. For me, it would be great if Deion were to stay at Jackson for the rest of his life. I mean, he's going to be black for the rest of his life. I know somebody may hear that and be like, what? But think about it. If Deion does stay at Jackson State and continues to breed legacy there and gets other players to leave PWIs or at least adopt the idea that they don't have to go to PWIs to get a great college experience, to get great athleticism, get great, athletic teaching, to get a great education. If you can continue to normalize the idea that anything that you can get at a PWI, you can get at a HBCU and more, then you change the outlook of HBCUs, not only for the people that live around them, but for the people that don't. So it's kind of a bittersweet thing. I really do believe that he should have stayed. I don't know what the upside is really in going to Colorado to coach, unless the idea is I want to go past Colorado. And I'm not in Prime's brain. So I'm thinking the kind of guy that he is that wants to win at every level in everything that he does. I don't think Colorado's the last stop. But this is a bittersweet pill to swallow. If anybody's got any, like I said, any insight or any questions, let us know in the comments. Make sure to share the stream. But, of course, we'll get to the questions so far. So one of the things that they asked Prime when he went on to his 60-minute interview about Jackson State, they said, why would you go there? And he said, I believe with all my heart that God called me collect, and I had to take the charge. Now, him saying that, going to Jackson State for 3 years, bringing them 2 championships, having them undefeated, and then leaving to Colorado, that could still all be true. He could. It doesn't mean that just because he invoked God, that means that he was lying or playing on people's emotions. It really could have been what was in his heart, that he needed to go there. The next thing I would ask is, will HBCUs continue to rise with such a void now that Deion is going to be gone? I don't know that I could really answer that. I do know that he's brought unforeseen popularity and brought more glory back to that area of college football, and much more awareness. The kind of awareness that you would get from like 90s television shows where they will always wear HBCU sweatshirts, whether it be Cosby, Martin, Different World, Living Single. They were always bigging up those schools by wearing sweatshirts on those shows, and they'd be on a national platform all the time. Now, Deion is, 24/7, social media, always repping Jackson State. Anytime anybody thinks about HBCU football, they're going to think about Jackson State. But will it continue to have the same kind of trajectory? I don't think so. Not unless you have somebody else that's going to be willing to fill the void that's also a dynamic professional player, former. Could could Dion have set it up to where there would be a coach like that ready to go and take over the wings? Of course, but it brings up a bigger conversation of, is that a problem that we have in our community as a whole, where we consistently level up personally, but don't set up anybody else behind us to continue that train of thought, to continue that train of success. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, in general, we don't do that, but I think as a majority, our community is starved for consistent, normalized success. So when it does happen at such an epic scale, we're not always thinking about somebody following us. And I think for other tight knit groups, that it is normalized for them to be tight knit, not only just by family, but also by race. Um, it's normalized. Excuse my camera. Uh, the hell? It's normalized that we are going to be. Damn, my camera went out. All right, we'll fix that, but keep listening to the audio. It's normalized that other groups are going to be looking out and making sure that they're going to be passing down the ladder for somebody else to climb up. And I think that is where we tend to miss the boat big time. We don't normalize leaving the ladder for somebody else to come up and have that continued success for an actual takeover. We take over to the point where we may be the best in the workforce, but we don't set ourselves up for consistent ownership or consistent absolute control. And I think that hinders us completely. But it's not like we can't learn from this situation with Deion, that is something that's an absolute must. Um, and then lastly, if I was Prime, what would I have done? And I think this is a question for everybody, especially anybody in the comments. What would you have done if you were Coach Sanders? For me, um, man, my thing is about community fortification, period, point blank. So I would do as much as I could on the level and set up for somebody else to take over, and pretty much try to impact the entire conference in the same form of fashion. If I move on from being a coach, maybe now I move on to being ahead of the conference and showcasing how we can better build up all of these other programs and make them household names, not only for folks that live in those communities, but for those that live far from those communities, that make going to an HBCU, having that presence, and ultimately fortifying our community through making each other more familiar with one another all of the time and becoming more of a family like many other groups. I think that would be my ultimate goal. Now, of course, for Prime, that it may be something different, but that's the way that I'm looking at it. It could be the same. Like I said, Prime may be looking actually to have a master plan that goes beyond Colorado. That's why I don't know that the knee-jerk reaction of calling him a sellout is actually sound. Best case scenario, Prime goes to Colorado, does his thing the same way he did at Jackson, then next goes to the pros, laying out a blueprint for how to do this, and also being able to still check. That may be a little bit extra, but it is what it is. So let me know what you think in the comments. Sorry for this camera going out, but I want to hear what you guys think. This will be on YouTube as well. This is the Make It Make Sense podcast.